The story takes us back to 1830 in New York's Hudson Valley. Our main character is Augustus Landor, a retired detective. He lives a lonely life in his house, spending most of his time drinking. This is because he lost his wife to an illness years ago, and his daughter has been missing for several months. One quiet morning, while Landor is relaxing by the river, a military officer named Captain Hitchcock approaches him. He says that a higher-up wants to meet Landor urgently. At first, Landor refuses. He doesn't like leaving his house anymore. But when Hitchcock insists that it's important, he finally agrees. On the way, they talk about Landor's past. It turns out he's a legend, one of the best detectives around, with a perfect record of solving cases, even in tough places like Gotham City. Soon, they reach a military academy and head straight into Superintendent Thayer's office. Thayer already knows a lot about Landor's past, including the tragedies he faced. After offering his sympathy, Thayer gets straight to business. A cadet from Kentucky named Fry has been found dead. At first, it looks like Fry might have taken his own life, but something feels off. After Fry's death, someone carefully cut open his body and removed his heart. A very precise and disturbing act. Thayer asks Landor to uncover the truth and catch the person responsible. Landor agrees and immediately gets to work. He and Hitchcock visit the morgue, where they meet Dr. Daniel, the man who examined Fry's body. Daniel says he didn't find anything unusual. But when Landor checks the body himself, he notices two important things: a bruise behind Fry's head and a small torn piece of paper clenched in his hand. This makes Landor sure that Fry didn't die by choice. He was murdered. He tries to figure out what the note says, but it's badly damaged, with only a few words left. It's almost impossible to piece it together. Before leaving, Hitchcock warns him to keep everything about the case a secret. Later, Landor visits the spot where Fry's body was discovered. While investigating, a cadet named Edgar Allan Poe comes up to him and shares a strange theory he believes a poet killed Fry. Poe explains that because poets understand the beauty and art of things, even terrible things like removing a heart, he thinks the killer is one. Landor doesn't take Poe seriously at first, but then Poe gives him a real clue. Fry had an argument with his roommate a few days before he died. In the next scene, Landor returns to the academy and, with Hitchcock's permission, questions a few cadets. Unfortunately, none of them offer anything useful. After the questioning, an officer brings a note for Hitchcock. Reading it, Hitchcock looks shocked. A cow and a sheep were found dead in the same gruesome way, strangled and with their hearts missing. It's clear the killer is sending a warning. Back off from the investigation. But this only fires up Landor even more. He quickly reaches out to Poe, asking for help decoding the paper found in Fry's hand. Even though Poe is still a trainee and technically isn't supposed to work with outsiders, he agrees. Later that evening, Poe shows up at Landor's house with some findings. He says he can't figure out the full note, but one phrase stood out: "Don't be late." This suggests that Fry was lured to a secret meeting spot. After thinking it through, they both agree that the note was likely written by a woman because Fry wouldn't have snuck out late at night just to meet a man. Poe then recalls seeing a beautiful woman near the military base around the time of Fry's death. The next day, Landor sends Poe a message, asking him to meet at an ice house near Lake Courage. Without wasting any time, Edgar arrives at the meeting spot and finds Landor investigating an old, abandoned house. Inside, Landor notices a strange circle and triangle drawn on the floor, suggesting that someone performed a ritual there. He believes that Fry's heart was placed between these shapes and dark magic was used. Landor learns that this house belongs to Dr. Daniel's son, Artemis, and begins to suspect him of being involved. To get more information about the ritual, Landor takes Edgar to meet his friend John, who is an expert on black magic. John shows them diagrams of the unusual shapes and quickly explains that the symbols are part of a ritual meant to achieve immortality. For this ritual, one needs the heart of an unbaptized child and the heart of a man who died by hanging. Landor tells Edgar to befriend Artemis and gather more information. Edgar agrees and starts hanging out with Artemis regularly. Surprisingly, the two become good friends. One night, during drinks with Artemis and his friends, Edgar learns that Fry was in a relationship with Artemis's beautiful sister, Leah. Many people think Fry did something terrible after Leah broke up with him. Meanwhile, Landor has a vision of his missing daughter, causing him to panic. It's clear that he hasn't come to terms with his loss. The next day, the funeral for the murdered cadet, Fry, is held. Landor attends to pay his respects and is approached by Fry's mother, who gives him Fry's diary. She believes the diary holds clues to the killer's identity. However, the diary is written in a cryptic language that she doesn't understand. Later, on his way home, Landor runs into Dr. Daniel and his wife, Wiley. He tells them that he will not rest until he finds the killer and makes them pay. When Wiley asks about his wife, Landor tells her that she died 2 years ago. Landor might be desperate for answers, but it seems like Wiley is the one hiding something. Elsewhere, Edgar goes to Artemis's house to learn more about him, but is distracted when he hears Leah playing the piano. Since she also loves poetry, the two start talking and quickly develop an attraction to each other. Before leaving, Edgar invites Leah to meet him outside the next day, and she agrees. The next day, they meet at a cemetery, quite an unusual date. Edgar admits how much he is drawn to her beauty and charm. When it's Leah's turn to talk, she unexpectedly has a seizure and collapses. Thankfully, she recovers quickly, and Edgar walks her back home. Meanwhile, Landor goes through Fry's personal diary, tearing out pages and managing to uncover some important information. Later that night, as Edgar is working alone, he is suddenly attacked by Ballinger, a fellow cadet and Artemis's friend. Ballinger beats him badly, but just in time, Landor arrives and saves Edgar. The next day, Landor learns that Ballinger has gone missing. He eventually finds Ballinger's body hanging in the woods, with his heart removed. But this time, something is different. Dr. Daniel examines the body and points out that the heart was removed with much less precision than Fry's. This causes a lot of anger among the high-ranking officials, and they demand that Landor solve the case immediately. They ask him to interrogate Edgar, as he is now the most suspicious cadet at the academy. When Landor refuses to question him, Hitchcock reveals that Edgar had fought with both Fry and Ballinger before they were killed. This surprises Landor, since Edgar had never mentioned any fights. Landor meets Edgar and asks him about the fights. Edgar admits he fought with both cadets, but only because they constantly bullied him for how he looked and acted. He insists that he didn't kill them, adding that if he killed everyone he had a problem with, there wouldn't be many cadets left. Landor, seeing Edgar's strange and innocent demeanor, is convinced that he's telling the truth, so he leaves without asking more questions. That night, Landor and Edgar are invited to dinner at Dr. Daniel's house. During the meal, Landor notices that Wiley seems unusually nervous and uneasy, as if she is hiding something. After dinner, Landor talks to Dr. Daniel in private and asks if something is wrong with his daughter. Daniel admits that Leah has a rare disorder causing frequent seizures, but sadly, there is no cure. Just then, Hitchcock arrives with alarming news. Another cadet, Stoddard, has gone missing. Landor immediately heads to Stoddard's room, but finds nothing unusual. He suspects that Stoddard, like Fry and Ballinger, got involved in something dangerous, and that's why they're being targeted. Since Stoddard's body hasn't been found, Landor wonders if he might have run away. Next, Landor visits his friend John, the wizard, to ask about the witch hunter John had mentioned earlier. John shows Landor a picture of the witch hunter, explaining that the man wrote a book detailing the ritual to become immortal. The moment Landor sees the picture, he recalls seeing it at Dr. Daniel's house and rushes over there. Meanwhile, Leah and Artemis have captured Edgar and are preparing to perform the same ritual on him that they did with Fry's heart. As soon as Landor arrives at Daniel's house, he confronts the doctor about the witch hunter and Leah's illness. Caught red-handed, Daniel confesses that after failing to cure Leah, he turned to witch hunting to try to keep her alive. He reveals that his wife, daughter, and son are all involved in these rituals. They are about to sacrifice Edgar for this dark cause. Horrified, Landor rushes to the abandoned house where they're performing the ritual and manages to save Edgar just in time, before Leah and Artemis can harm him. But Leah, furious, spills oil everywhere, starting a huge fire. Artemis takes advantage of the chaos to fight Landor, while Leah continues the ritual. Tragically, while trying to stop her, a large wooden beam falls on Leah, knocking her out. Artemis rushes to help her, but both he and Leah get trapped in the fire as the house collapses. Landor grabs Wiley and Edgar and manages to escape. The next day, with Edgar recovering in a hospital, the superintendent praises Landor for solving the case. Hitchcock also thanks Landor and apologizes for his previous behavior. The case seems closed, but there's more to the story. Weeks later, Edgar visits Landor at his house, revealing shocking news. He's discovered that the handwriting on the note fragment from Fry and the note Landor received are identical. After connecting all the clues, Edgar realizes that Landor is the one responsible for the cadet deaths. Edgar explains that a lady at a tavern told him about Landor's daughter, Matilda. At this point, Landor finally admits his guilt and tells Edgar the full story. 2 years ago, after attending her first ball, Matilda was attacked by Fry, Ballinger, and Stoddard. Although she survived, the trauma was too much for her, and she took her own life by jumping off a cliff. Landor witnessed it all and couldn't stop her. Overcome with grief and anger, Landor decided to take revenge. He lured Fry into a trap, killed him, and staged the scene to make it look like Fry had taken his own life. Then, Leah and Artemis performed the ritual and took Fry's heart. Landor admits that he discovered more about Ballinger's involvement through Fry's personal diary. At the right moment, Landor killed Ballinger and staged his death in the same way. That's why Dr. Daniel noticed the differences in the cuts. Landor believes Stoddard ran away out of fear, but now he'll live in constant fear for the rest of his life. Landor joined the investigation to keep suspicion off himself and to find out who had taken Fry's heart. In the final scene, Landor tells Edgar that he can report him to the authorities if he wants, but Edgar refuses. He understands Landor's actions, believing that criminals like Fry and Ballinger deserve their fate. Edgar burns the notes with the evidence, and Landor is spared from being caught. Before leaving, Edgar tells Landor how much he values the moments they shared, saying, "I never thought I'd meet someone like you." The movie ends with Landor walking to the cliff where his daughter died. He lets her hair ribbon float away in the wind, whispering, "Rest, my love."
Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.